Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm walking down to the beach with my dog. Oh, and I decided to make another video. I spent the last 4 days at my cottage just doing my own thing, filming video. I think that was the vlog that was up last week. Been doing some writing and stuff. Oh, I'm out of breath. Anyways, we're just about to come over the rise where the water is. So you're gonna see some water and then we're gonna talk about today's video, okay? It's beautiful and there is not a person in sight. Got hair in my mouth. Just this dog and me. I've recently been doing some seasonal themed, book recommendations. I did a spring one that people seemed happy with and were excited about. And I wanted to do some summer ones. Now it was hard to just find books set in the summer. And I was like, well, I could do summer vibes, but that just ended up being books set in the desert. I don't know. And none of that was very appealing to me. And then I realized what is especially appealing to me is none other than one of my actual special interests, which is ships. Now, I like them big and old and from the 1700s, but I decided I wanted to make a list of books that are set mostly on the sea or, seafaring voyage based fantasy. Keeping an eye on Danny because I lost him this morning for 15 minutes. And oh boy, was it easy to come up with a list for y'all. But I'm not gonna film the entire video down here on the beach because that's crazy. Where is he? Oh, he's behind me. I gotta keep an eye on this dog and it's loud and I wanna enjoy the moment while I'm down here. I'm leaving the cottage tomorrow, so I have limited beach time left. But yeah, here's a list of seafaring books. See you back at the cottage. And we're back. It really would have been awesome to be able to film this at the beach, but it just is too windy, okay? It's too much, too many things going wrong. So we're gonna film it here. I also think it might be interesting for you guys to know that I haven't put on deodorant even one time this week. If you haven't watched my videos, I'm at my cottage by myself, so that's not gross. I'm not gross. Anyways, I'm here to continue on from the intro that we did down at the beach to tell you about my favorite seafaring ship voyage related books. My gosh, I could have put so many things on this list. And I actually did consider putting a few things on the list that I haven't read just because they are pirates and stuff, but I tried to narrow it down for real. I've got 7 books to talk to you about, unless I think of some while we're filming and then I might add some on. Also, before we jump into the list, I want to show you something that I realized is behind me. Maybe I should use this as a prop. I know we don't like Mel Gibson, so sorry about that, but the Bounty, the ship is one of my favorite things ever. This movie is weird, but it is a true story, what happened to the Bounty. And I own a couple copies of the story, Mutiny on the Bounty. Anyways, why am I freaking out? What's wrong with me? I'm gonna put this right here. It's a true story about a ship in 1787 that experienced a mutiny that was very legendary. And the ship, the Bounty, is very legendary, and I own a little model of it that's at home, and I own some old, nice vintage copies of Mutiny on the Bounty, which is a sort of real, sort of fictionalized version of what happened on the Bounty. Anyways, the point is, I really like ships, and maybe Mutiny on the Bounty will be my bonus entry because it's not officially on the list. But there, we're gonna have this here for a prop. I hope it's in the shot. I also realized that Pirates of the Caribbean movies are behind me as well. More props. Yeah, those look great. Props. Yeah, we'll just put that there. Nice. Okay, continue with the video. 7 books. The first book I have on the list here is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. Now, not all of Black Sun is a seafaring story. There are 3 main POVs in this series, and one of them is very ship-based. She's a siren, she's a sailor, she's half fish lady. One of them is a political story that has nothing to do with the ocean, but actually was my favorite plot line in the book, so And the other one is a crow man. The other one is a character who's sort of like a chosen one. Oh, there's a big wasp. There's a big wasp in here. We have a sort of chosen one storyline, but it's really dark and awesome, and he does eventually join up with Ship Lady, so 2 of the perspectives are mostly on ships. I really enjoyed the seafaring part of Black Sun because it felt very true to at least what I know of ships and sailing. I think that if you are testing the waters, so to speak, on seafaring books, Black Sun is a great place to start because it's not entirely based on the ocean. So if you are gonna get seasick of the ship stuff, you at least have other perspectives to look forward to. I'm so sorry. I've only been here for 4 days, but I feel very isolated and alone, and I'm losing my mind. Oh, and the third book just came out, so the series is complete now. Book number 2 on the list is entirely seafaring, and it's The Adventures of Amina Al-Sirafi by S.A. Chakraborty. This is a book I've talked about on the channel before. It was in my top 10 of 2023, I believe. I'm like 99% sure it was. And it was my favorite audiobook of 2023. This is a historical fantasy set on the This is a historical fantasy set on the Indian Ocean, and it is about a female pirate doing one last job in order to, well, do one last job. She's doing piratey things. Amina Al-Sirafi, our main character, has made a life for herself with her daughter, sort of in hiding, and she's done with the criminal stuff, but she is asked by the mother of someone that, well, things didn't really end well with this guy. She's asked to do one last job, and because she feels very guilty, she does it. This book is phenomenal. Truly. I've also talked about this before, but I love that we are seeing a lot more like older female perspectives, as in not 19-year-olds. And Amina is an amazing heroine. There's a lot of cool mythology in this book that you probably haven't really read about before, as well as some awesome surprise LGBT rep and just overall badassery. Oh, and it is also one of my favorite covers of a book ever. I would have bought it for the cover alone. And then it turned out to be amazing. The next book I have here on the list isn't quite set on an ocean. Well, it is, but it's an ocean of spores. Do you know what book I'm talking about? You do. It's Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. Tress was one of the secret projects that Brandon Sanderson released last year, 2023? I want to say it was 2023. Time is passing. And it's the only secret project that I actually read. I'm not yet the biggest Sanderson girly, as in I'm still working my way through the Stormlight archive, and I haven't read anything else, only Tress. And I enjoyed Tress. It felt very new adult to me, in that it was kind of YA, but a little bit more sophisticated than a general typical YA. But what I genuinely loved about this book was the ship part, the sailing part, and the way Sanderson sort of describes in an almost scientific way how the spore seas work. The magic systems, as usual with Brandon Sanderson, were fantastic. And all of these ship-related things really, really, really stunned me. Now, if you know, Tress maybe isn't the one to start with. But if you don't know, Tress is a great standalone to start with. What I mean by that is there are some crossover characters, some Cosmere characters, if you're familiar with the Cosmere. There are some characters in this book that, like, if you didn't know the Cosmere, you wouldn't care about, you wouldn't need to know. I'm making this more confusing than it has to be. If you're a Cosmere girly, there are recognizable characters in Tress. And those girlies might say, oh my god, you can't read Tress on its own because you won't know who Hoyd is. It doesn't matter. You can absolutely read Tress on its own if you don't know who Hoyd is. Hoyd is just another character then. Get it? Anyways, great book. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. The fourth book on the list is The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. This is another one where it's not really a seafaring book, except that it totally is. Not much of this book is set on ships or boats. There's one perspective that he has a boat and he travels around on it, but it's not really about sailing. That being said, the entire landscape of this book are set on floating islands that are constantly shifting around and moving. So there's a lot of ocean-related things that happen throughout the series. Now, I've only read the first one, but I do know some big spoilers about the ocean-related things that happen further along in the series, and it sounds cool as hell, guys. The Bone Shard Daughter is an East Asian-inspired fantasy, and it has probably my favorite animal companion in any series I've read recently. Next on the list is a book I haven't actually read yet because it's a brand new young adult fantasy release. It's Dragonfruit by Machiavelli, and it's a Pacific Islander mythology-inspired book, and it sounds really cool. That being said, I haven't read it yet, so I don't know how much of it is actually like sea-based, but it sounds like it is. It's kind of like a boy finds a dragon egg trope, but instead of dragons, it's sea dragons. In the world of Dragonfruit, the Dragonfruit, which are the sea dragon eggs, are known to be able to heal your biggest sorrow or like cure your deepest grief. So the main character of this book is a prince of a matriarchal society. So he's not actually going to inherit the throne, but unfortunately his mother and his grandmother are both very ill. So he embarks on a journey with a childhood friend to find one of these sea dragon eggs, one of these dragon fruit, in order to use its powers to cure whatever's going on with his matriarchal relatives. Instead of getting married, it says he has two choices, get married or cure them. I don't know. It sounds really cool though. I have not seen like any Pacific Island mythology except for Moana. And I also think it's interesting that it's a matriarchal society. We don't have too much of that really going on. And stunning cover, as always. Another YA book that I'm going to put on the list because it's very important to me, but I'm not necessarily actually recommending this whole series, you know? I did an entire video on this series and all of its flaws, but this is a formative reading experience for me. And it's Bloody Jack by L.A. Meyer. Pretty much nobody knows about this series because it's a very random one from 2008, 2007, I think the first book was published. This is purely historical fiction. It's not actually fantasy at all, but I love it so much. And it is what sparked my interest in ships. So I had to include it. The series is set in the 1800s and follows Jackie Faber, who is a young girl who's orphaned at an early age and loses her gang of street kids and decides that her only option is to embrace this call of the sea that she's feeling and pretend to be a boy and get hired onto a Royal Navy ship. And honestly, as much as the later books in the series become very weird and problematic and like increasingly unbelievable in like a James Bond type of way, where she becomes a spy at some point and like deep sea dives and just really crazy stuff happens. The first book is phenomenal. The sailing knowledge that is put on the page in Bloody Jack is incredibly accurate and amazing and very well written, very engaging to read. The story is heart-wrenching. And like, despite the fact that she's like 12 or so in the first book, I would hardly count this as a young adult book because it tackles themes so beyond the comprehension of me, an 11-year-old reading this series. But I really wish that more people knew about the Bloody Jack series, at least for the first 4 books. The first one is my favorite and the 4th one is my second favorite, but ultimately like those 4 books and kind of the 5th one are really incredible. After that, it goes off the rails completely, but hey, I'm recommending the first one. And the last entry on this list, I didn't know how to include because one book in the series really does fit into this list specifically, but you can't start with that one. Anyways, it's The Voyage of the Dawn Treader by C.S. Lewis. So it is the 4th book in the Narnia series, the Chronicles of Narnia. I believe it's the 4th book. The Voyage of the Dawn Treader is my favorite. You can probably guess why. It's the ships. But all of the Narnia series is really incredible, and I think that everyone should read it. And if you're only familiar with Narnia because of the movie, and you're like, well, that's a very wintry, cold read, only that book, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, is wintry because of, what happens in the story. The rest of the series actually really does have that summery vibe that I've been talking about. And then book 4, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader especially, is all about seafaring and is a seafaring journey. Narnia was also one of those formative book experiences for me, and I adore the series so much. Again, despite what you have to say about the later books and the author and his beliefs, despite anything, I love Narnia, and I think you should really read the books if you haven't. I also love the movies, even The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. You can't stop me. It's okay. And there we have it. There were 7 books, kind of. There's more than 7. But those are a bunch of seafaring books to read in the summer. Thank you for coming to this list. I am really enjoying doing these seasonal read videos. I know I've only done 2 of them, but I've been enjoying it. I'll see you again in the fall for my autumn reads, but I'll also see you next week because I post 2 days a week. I'm gonna do my outro out of order. Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring the bell icon so you know when I upload. I upload 2 days a week, as I just said. Anything else? No. The Bounty, Pirates of the Caribbean. Read Mutiny on the Bounty and watch the movie, and also another great seafaring movie to watch in the summer, Master and Commander. I love you guys. Goodbye.